Hello all. In today's video, we shall be discussing about India's Act East policy. Before the Act East policy, we had something called the Look East policy, and it was in the 12th ASEAN India Summit held at Myanmar in 2014 that India had unveiled the India's Act East policy. Now, this policy basically aims to promote economic, strategic and cultural relations with the vast Asia Pacific region at different levels, and it also involves continuous engagement with Southeast Asian countries in various fields such as trade, connectivity, defense, culture, and people to people contact at the bilateral, regional and multilateral levels. India is now part of various organizations, and it has also upgraded its relationship to strategic partnership with various countries such as Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore and ASEAN of course, and has also forged close ties with all the countries in the Asia Pacific region. And apart from ASEAN Regional Forum and East Asia Summit, India is also actively a member of various organizations such as BIMSTEC, which is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Then we have the ACD, which is Asia Cooperation Dialogue, and then we have the MGC, which is Mekong Ganga Cooperation, and also we have the Indian Ocean Rim Association, IORA. The Act East policy of India does not only focus on bilateral, multilateral relations with the other Asian countries, but also it focuses on promoting our domestic agenda. So basically, the Act East policy has placed emphasis on the India-ASEAN cooperation in promoting our domestic agenda such as connectivity projects, cooperation in space. Then we have the Make in India initiative. So the Act East policy of the government is not only, like I said, focusing on international ties, but is also helping India, or at least is also focusing on bringing up or promoting the domestic agenda of our country. And like we have discussed, the objective of Act East policy is to promote economic cooperation, cultural ties, and develop strategic relationship with countries in the Asia Pacific region through continuous engagement at the bilateral, regional, and multilateral levels. The Act East policy also focuses on providing enhanced connectivity to the northeastern states, and the northeast of India has also been a priority in the Act East policy. And the Act East policy provides to be an interface between northeast India, including the state of Arunachal Pradesh and the ASEAN region. There are many projects which are being undertaken, such as the Kaladan Multimodal Transit Transport Project, the India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway Project, the Border Hearts, etc. And all of these projects are being undertaken with the objective of developing and strengthening the connectivity of Northeast with the ASEAN region through various activities such as trade, culture, people-to-people contact, physical infrastructure such as road, airport, telecommunication, etc. The ASEAN India Plan of Action, which was adopted in August 2015 for a period of 2016 to 2020, identifies the core initiatives and projects that has to be undertaken, the policies that has to be formulated and implemented, and the areas of cooperation along the three pillars of political security, economic and socio-cultural. Now, on the civilizational front also, the Buddhist and the Hindu links could be energized to develop new contacts and connectivity between people. Like we had discussed so far, on the connectivity front, particularly for linking ASEAN with the northeastern region of our country, many efforts and, special efforts are being taken to develop a very coherent strategy wherein, measures are being taken to develop the physical infrastructure of the northeastern region and, include many and build many physical infrastructures such as airports, roads, telecommunication, so that the overall connectivity in the region is enhanced, and also steps are being taken to improve the contacts between academic and cultural institutions. like I said in the beginning, from the Look East policy, we had switched to the Act East policy, and we have implemented the Act East policy. And this implementation of the Act East policy can be interpreted as an effective way of addressing China's threat and India's maritime engagement with Southeast Asia. Now, we can look into some of the successes that India has achieved in pushing back China's geopolitical regional influence. And to name a few, it would be in 2015, India and Vietnam had signed a bilateral defense and coast guard cooperation agreement, which led to the fact that in 2016 both the nations had signed various bilateral documents. In 2018, the naval exercise called Samudra Shakti was conducted between India and Indonesia. The 25th Singapore-India Maritime Bilateral Exercise was again a joint naval exercise between India and Singapore, which is another ASEAN member. Then the Indian Navy also recently conducted a maritime bilateral exercise with Singapore in the South China Sea as part of the 28th Simbex. And from September 2020 to 2022, the third edition of the bilateral exercise Samudra Shakti with the Indian Ocean Navy was held in the Sunda Strait. So far, we have looked into the details of India's Act East policy and some of the successes that it has achieved with respect to developing a strategic relationship with the ASEAN countries and close ties with the countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Now we shall look into the challenges of India's Act East policy. And one major challenge is that though we have mentioned so many successes that India has attained over a period of time, the problem with India's Act East policy is that it follows a flexible or infinite time approach. And therefore, what happens is that the major of the four C's, which is basically commerce, connectivity, capacity building, and culture, under the Act East policy is classified as expected or ongoing. Now, the problem with this is that, because of this, the overland connectivity approach in the northeastern region has been slow, which is supposed to be one of the main focuses of the Act East policy. That itself is going very slow. Now, another reason for the slow progress of India's Act East policy is that because many small countries, including those in the southeast region, has begun to distance themselves from India. And we can also say that because there is a delay in the completion of various projects, the projects are not being completed on the expected time. For example, the Agartala Akhauda rail link with Bangladesh has shifted from March to December. Then there is a long delay in the India-Myanmar Kaladan connectivity project. It has, it still remains unfinished even after its first deadline, which was 7 years ago, and it is now expected to be completed sometime in 2023. So basically, India has been very overly ambitious in its approach to the global outreach, but that ambition has not yielded the desired dividend for India. So concerning India's Act East policy overland connectivity, basically New Delhi has lost the initial zeal that it had in implementing the AEP, which is Act East policy, and the India's AEP maritime development has undoubtedly instilled confidence in the Indian people that they can defend maritime security interests against potential threats. So that is one good thing about it. But the focus of the project, the emphasis of the project, and the delay in the completion of the project is one major challenge which is faced by India's Act East policy. We have discussed the challenges pertaining to India's Act East policy. Now we will look into what can be done to address those challenges. The first thing that can be done in this direction is to identify the common challenges which the ASEAN countries and India faces, and also share the interest, identify the shared interest so that it can enable better cooperation and promote better cooperation between these nations. The second thing is that in ASEAN member countries, trade is largely protected. And because of that, India has a comparative advantage when it comes to the service sector, especially the IT services. Now, the domestic regulations in ASEAN economies, it is required that they be liberalized to promote cross-regional cooperation. The third thing that can be done is that with respect to ASEAN countries and India, there is a lack of adequate physical connectivity. So, especially along the infrastructural bottlenecks, and that needs to be addressed to strengthen India-ASEAN partnership. And greater progress is envisioned in India-ASEAN relations upon the liberalization of services, trade, and other areas of common interest and potential, particularly mode 4, which includes movement of natural persons. We now move on to discuss the model question with respect to the topic that we have discussed so far. The model question for your practice is question number 1. There is a change in the perception of China and US in Southeast Asia. Do you think it is time for India to recalibrate its Act East policy? Question number 2. Examine the prospects and challenges of India's Act East policy. Also suggests some measures to strengthen India's relationship with Southeast Asian countries. I hope you found the content of this session valuable. If you liked the video, kindly do not forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.